Liverpool are close to agreeing a deal worth up to €100 million, £85.5 million, for Benfica striker Darwin Nunez. Liverpool are paying an initial €75 million plus €25 million in potential add-ons. If the deal is agreed on Sunday, as expected, the Uruguay international's medical examinations will start on Monday. The player wants to move to Liverpool and is ready to sign a 5-year contract. Liverpool's director of football, Julian Ward, is in Portugal to try to complete the transfer, with negotiations centered on the structure of the deal. Nunez scored 34 times for Benfica last season in all competitions, including goals in both legs of the club's Champions League quarter-final defeat to Liverpool in April. Liverpool are not prepared to enter a bidding war for their number 1 transfer target, with Manchester United also admirers of the 22-year-old. Despite doubts over the futures of Sadio Mané and Mohamed Salah. The 30-year-old has 1 year left on his contract and joked the majority of people in Senegal want him to leave Anfield. Salah also has 1 year left on his Liverpool contract but announced before last month's Champions League final defeat to Real Madrid that he will be staying in Merseyside for at least 1 more season. Everything you need to know about Darwin Nunez. Darwin Nunez was one of the best players this season in the Portuguese league by far. The other one was Luis Diaz, who moved to Liverpool in January, and that made Nunez the absolute best player. Benfica finished the season in 3rd place and failed to get a direct spot in the Champions League, but in 41 games, Nunez scored 34 goals and registered 4 assists, so you're talking about one of the best strikers. He's a modern football striker, like Erling Haaland and Kylian Mbappé, strikers who don't just focus on scoring goals. They focus on playing for the team and making the whole team play well. That's why we're talking about €100 million. The biggest defect, or the less good point, about Nunez is his psychological game. In the 2020-21 season, he was not scoring many goals. He played 44 matches and only scored 14. He was criticized by the fans a little bit, and the first thing he did was start suspending his social media, blocking people and not reading the comments. This proves he doesn't deal well with critics when things start not going well. And in England, the price tag is the first thing people will talk about when he doesn't start scoring goals. When you talk about a player like Darwin Nunez, you think about a typical number 9 that plays inside the penalty area. But he can easily play out wide to break spaces for other players in the central areas if teams need him. It's a very good deal for Liverpool, who already used the Portuguese league with Luis Diaz in a massive transfer for Liverpool, which the winger completely deserved. In Jurgen Klopp's hands, Darwin can be of the top strikers in the world. Nowadays, he's not one of the top strikers because he doesn't play in the top 5 leagues. We have to see how he develops in the Premier League, which is one of the best leagues in the world. The making of Darwin Nunez. De Los Santos was his sporting director at Peñarol, the club in Uruguay where Nunez's footballing story began. He was still there as recently as 2019. Indeed, he was playing in the 2nd tier of Spain with Almeria just 2 years ago. The rise has been swift. It is the story of a young man with strengths both physical and mental. Darwin was an introverted boy when he was younger, explains De Los Santos. Then, when he started to move up through the age groups, he began to loosen up, and with each passing day at Peñarol he became more integrated within the group. Born by the Brazilian border in Artigas, about as far away from the capital of Montevideo as it gets in Uruguay, his was a humble background. His father worked in construction, his mother collected bottles in the street. Sacrifices were made for their son. He revealed this detail in a heartfelt press conference upon his arrival in Europe. He talked of begging the Peñarol president for the move so that he could buy a house for his parents in Artigas. Driven to succeed, his motivation was to change their lives. Fortunately, he had the talent to make it happen. His skills always stood out above the rest as he had a very athletic physique for his age. I think that the most remarkable thing about Darwin is this physical potential, combined with his ability to always find the space to break through any defense that he faces. There were setbacks, even after making his debut at the age of 18. Knee injuries delayed his progress. It was almost a year before he scored his first goal, but resilience is a quality that was evident from the outset. His personality is very strong, adds De Los Santos. This does not mean that he is bad boy, he is simply very mature for his age and very calm. He has a winning mentality and that Uruguayan DNA. He is hungry for glory and sporting successes both at club level and for the Uruguay national team. The move to Almería was the right one. It took him to Europe in a country where he spoke the language but outside the immediate demands of the highest tier. David Badia was assistant manager for much of Nunez's time with the club and thinks it was a good fit. Almería is not a big city in Spain, Badia tells Sky Sports. You are out all the time because it is hot, so I met him just walking around in the city. He was not staying at home, not talking to anyone. It is a city where you can walk in the street and people would not stop him every 5 minutes like he might get in Lisbon. He is an ordinary person. One chance meeting with Nunez underlined that point when Badia ran into him buying a mobile phone. I was with my wife buying a phone myself. It was amazing. You expect that he would buy the top model. He just wanted a normal phone so he could call his mother. Badia laughs. My wife asked for another model. Humble and with a point to prove, it made for a good combination in Spain's second division. He was eased in, but that does not mean it was easy. It is a very defensive league with veteran defenders who know everything. They try to push you, they kick you, they are on you all the time. It is difficult. Nunez had to adapt. We had several conversations with him, Badia adds. When he arrived from Uruguay, everything was different. The stadiums, even the pitches are different. The ball goes faster because we water the pitch. It makes for a faster style than in South America. For that reason, he had to adapt to this rhythm. He did it pretty well. Javier Ajenjo was Almería's fitness coach. He remembers this same humility. He just worked hard, Ajenjo tells Sky Sports. He came from a humble family and knew what was required to reach the top. He worked hard then and I am sure he works hard now. But, as a fitness coach, one trait stood out above all others. You could see that physically he was one of the fastest players in the league with the acceleration that he had, adds Ajenjo. He was just like a beast. Tactically, that quality shaped the team's thinking. He is a tall guy but he is very quick off the mark and he can maintain that speed over long distances, Badia explains. That was amazing for the counter-attacks. You could put a long ball to him and he could beat defenders even if they were 2 meters ahead of him. He was amazing at that. It became Almería's chief route to goal. We had good players at number 10 and number 8 who could find very nice passes through the defensive line of the opponent. We had another fast winger. And he was our number 9. When we would steal the ball back in the middle of the pitch, we could find him easily because he is so good at finding the space, identifying the right areas to attack, understanding the deficiencies of the opposition defenders. One game, in particular, has stayed in Badia's memory. It was January 2020, the first game after a brief winter break. Almería had a difficult trip to Lugo in the relative cold of Galicia, an assignment that traditionally takes Andalusian teams out of their comfort zone. 10 minutes had passed when Nunez changed the game. It was an amazing goal on the counterattack. The moment that he feels we are going to win the ball, he starts to run. If he does not run before then, the goal does not happen. Because of that movement, when we played the ball, he was already at full speed. He was one-on-one with the goalkeeper and everyone was expecting him to go to one side or the other. Instead, he shot directly from distance. Even the goalkeeper was not expecting that sudden move. It was like a rocket, you know. He had these special moments. It is a video I still show my players today. It was the first of 2 goals that afternoon and a run of 9 goals in 10 games at the start of the year. That form reflected his increasing importance to the team. He developed a lot during the season, recalls Ajenjo. Scoring goals, growing in confidence. Almería missed out on promotion to La Liga, beaten in the playoffs, but it was already obvious that this was not going to deny Nunez. All of his teammates knew that he would move to a bigger club, they saw the improvement too, adds Ajenjo. It was his first and last season in Almería. The move to Benfica was another smart choice. This was a famous team in a high-profile league that offered the opportunity to play European football. But it was not yet the absolute elite leagues. He could learn his craft, continue to hone his raw talent. That was illustrated by his total of 6 league goals in that first season at Benfica. The dramatic increase in his output came this past season. Nunez scored 26 goals at a rate of 1.18 per 90 minutes, the best strike rate of any player in Europe's top 7 leagues. He moved to Benfica, a bigger team, playing in Europe. But the numbers are still there, says Ajenjo. He has shown himself to be a fighter. He has shown everyone now and he will move to one of the biggest clubs. For sure, he is ready to move one step forward. Speaking to his former coaches, there are smiles, even laughter, when this question of whether Nunez is capable of taking that next step is broached. They regard it as an inevitability, a matter of when rather than if he reveals his talent to a new audience. Stylistically, there are some clubs that might suit him more than others. Ajenjo wonders whether Diego Simeone's Atletico Madrid might be the best fit because of his counter-attacking skills and fighting instincts. He is this type of player, he says. Others believe the speed of the Premier League suits him well. 100%, says Badia. I think he will fit perfectly in the Premier League. He is strong, he can compete in the duels, he is very fast. He has improved his first touch. If there is any league in the world in which he will fit perfectly, it is the Premier League. Perhaps the final word is best left to De Los Santos, a former teammate of Simeone at Atletico, where he also played with Fernando Torres. He is a native of Salto, the city that spawned those Uruguayan greats Luis Suarez and Edinson Cavani. Darwin is a player with 10 to 12 elite years in European football ahead of him, he says. But is he really capable of being one of the best 5 forwards on the planet? Right now, he is already among the best 10.